This is your practice quiz for focus quiz number 8. So on number 1, it says subtract the rational expression. Write your answer in simplest form. So in order to subtract, we need to find a least common denominator. So the least common denominator needs to include what is already there. We can't ever get rid of anything that's already in our denominator. So the least common would be 3 and x minus 5. So I'm going to write those down and then make each one of my original fractions have that denominator. So I need to multiply the first fraction by 3. So 3 times 7 would give me 21. And then the second fraction, the one on the right, I need to multiply by x minus 5. So that way at the bottom, they have the same denominator now. And at the top, you just have to multiply by the same thing. So minus 4x times x minus 5. I'm just going to bring that down. Then to subtract, we just need to combine terms in the numerator. So 21 minus 4x squared, and then minus negative 4x times negative 5. So that would be positive 20x. Then all over my common denominator of 3 times x minus 5. So then if I put negative 4x squared first, because that's the quadratic term, it has a highest degree, plus 20x plus 21, there's not really more I could do with that. So I'm just going to leave it like that for my answer. Number 2 says solve the following rational equation. So this one is the type with one fraction is equal to one fraction. So in that case, we can just cross multiply to solve this one. So I get 2 times x plus 3 is equal to 4 times 7x. And so then I'm going to distribute the 2. So I get 2x plus 6 equals 28x. And then I'm going to subtract 2x. So I get 6 equals 26x. And then divide by 26. Always be careful you don't accidentally divide by the wrong number, because we always like to divide larger numbers by smaller numbers. So sometimes you make a mistake without realizing it. All right, so then we end up with 3 over 13, because they both would divide evenly by 2. And we can just leave it like that. So that is it for number 2. Number 3 says solve the following rational equation. So this one we cannot cross multiply because we do not have just one fraction equal to another fraction. So I'm going to work on finding a common denominator. So 4, 2, and 6 could all become 12. So I'm going to write that down 3 times and put my signs in my equal sign in place. So 4 to become 12 needs to be multiplied by 3. So top and bottom, I get 3 times 2y is 6y. 2 needs to be multiplied by 6. So I get 6 over 12. And 6 just needs to be multiplied by 2. So I get 2y. So now that you have a common denominator of 12, if we were to multiply everything by 12, it would cancel them all out. And so that is the reason we can just take away those common denominators and bring down what's left in our numerator and finish solving. So 6y plus 6 equals 2y. I'm going to subtract 6y. So I get 6 equals negative 4y, and then I just need to divide both sides by negative 4. So I get negative 3 over 2 equals y. And in this one, I actually did not have any restricted values, so I don't have any possibility for extraneous solutions. And that is because in the denominator, there was no variable. Let's look back at number 2 for just a minute. So number 2, I could not have x equals 0, and I could not have x equals negative 3. Those would not have been possible. But since my answer did not contain either one of those, 3 over 13 is our solution for that one. Number 4, Mary can paint a certain room in 4 hours, but Kendra needs 5 hours to paint the same room. How long does it take them to paint the room if they work together? So Mary can paint one room in 4 hours. Kendra can paint one room in 5 hours, and we want to know how long it would take them to do that one room And we don't know how long it takes them to do it together, so put x. So then this is a rational equation, so we can get a common denominator of 20. We could do this two different ways. So I'm going to do this way first, and then we'll look at it another way. If I get a common denominator, it would be 20x. So I would need to multiply the first fraction by 5x on the top and the bottom. So I get 5x at the top. The second fraction I would need to multiply by 4x on the top and the bottom. So I get 4x at the top. And then the last fraction I need to multiply by 20. So I have the same denominator at the bottom of all of them. And then we're able to take that away and solve what's left over. So 5x plus 4x is 9x equals 20. And divide by 9. So we can just leave it like that. That is one way to do it. The other way you could do it is if you do 1/4 plus 1/5 equals 1 over x. And you put these two together first and then cross multiply would be the other way to go about it. So you still need a common denominator to put those two together. So I would end up with 4 over 20. If I multiply by 5, I end up with 5 over 20. Remember on your quiz, it's very important to show your work. So if you do that in your calculator, still show your steps and try to do as much work on your paper as you can to show where your answer will come from. So in this case, we get 9 over 20 on the left equals 1 over x on the right. And then you can cross multiply, so you get 9x equals 20 and divide both sides by 9, and we get the same thing. So just two different ways to solve the same problem, either way you want. So number 5 says, and this will be like the one on your quiz, you're going to have a problem all worked out and you have to find the mistake and, very important, correct it. So don't just do one or the other. Find it and correct it. It will be okay if you circle the mistake, but then make sure over here that you show the correct work. All right, so first let's look for our mistake. So we have x plus 1 over 2x plus 2 equals 3 over 2x. In the first step, it looks like they have cross multiplied. So x plus 1 times 2x looks okay. And 3 times 2x plus 2 looks okay. So that step looks okay. And then if you distribute the 2x, you get 2x squared plus 2x. So that looks okay over there. And if we distribute the 3, we get 6x plus 6. So that step looks okay as well. Then it looks like they've moved everything to one side. So if we subtract 6x, then that would give us the negative 4x they've got there. And if we subtract 6 from both sides, that would be okay too. So all of those look okay. Now it looks like they have factored out a 2. So we have x squared minus 2x minus 3 left over. And then they factored it into x minus 3x plus 1. So let's check and make sure those numbers are okay. So those numbers will multiply to give us negative 3 and add to give us negative 2. All right, so those look all right. Then they said x minus 3 equals 0, so x equals 3. Or x plus 1 equals 0, so x equals negative 1. And they said the solutions are 3 and negative 1. So, let's see. If you factor out the denominator in this original equation, you would have 2 times x plus 1 over here. So x cannot equal negative 1 is the problem. So this one right here at the very end of the problem would be an extraneous solution. So everything looked good up until their answer because they just didn't check to make sure it was not extraneous. So the work could be kind of what we already wrote down, like the correct work is really what is there step for step for this one. So I'm not going to take the time to rewrite the whole thing because you have it already right there. It's just in their very last step, they needed to check their restricted values by seeing where the denominator would equal 0 in that original equation. And so like I say, that last answer would just be extraneous. Okay, so I hope this helps you get ready for focus quiz number 8.